Now, if I can be serious for a moment, more than 100 million people were killed in wars during the 20th century, and the total number of people ever killed by wars could be as many as 1 billion. Einstein described war as a cloak that covers acts of murder, and Antoine de Saint-Exupéry called it a disease like typhus. With all that in mind, here is my question to you. Why did Hitler have such a silly moustache?
Thank God for that. I thought I was on the wrong show for a minute. Well, got very serious.
I'm sure you'd agree with my description of war there, wouldn't you?
I would absolutely. This is a difficult show for me to be on because I'm a Quaker pacifist. So I'm not an ideal person.
Were you born a Quaker?
No, I wasn't. I was a Quaker by convincement, as they call it.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And because my family, the Fry family, were very early Quakers.
Of course they were. Of course they were.
It's a very admirable thing, and the pacifism is taken very seriously, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's a lovely thing until Hitler comes along, and then it's not much use.
Well, if we'd have done something about it before Hitler came along, then maybe it would.
You shaved his moustache.
And I think the reason he had that moustache is he was probably a fan of Oliver Hardy.
Ah, well, it's certainly true that they were popular in the 20s and increasingly in the 30s. Well, Charlie Chaplin, of course, is best known. But supposedly Hitler changed from what was a relatively bushy moustache. You may have seen a famous photograph of him as a Gefreiter, a corporal in the First World War. There he is on the left. But there are a couple of stories. No one's quite sure which is true. There was a fellow who served with him, Alexander Moritz Fry, great-uncle Alexander. He was in the same regiment in the First World War as Hitler, and he said that Hitler trimmed it into the familiar toothbrush in order to fit into the gas mask properly. Oh. Fry's account is controversial, apparently. He went on to become a satirist and fantasy novelist, starting a family tradition.
So here's the point about Hitler. He's judged very harshly by history, but he did kill Hitler.
I can't take that away from you, Jimmy.
Credit when credit is due.
That's true. Some historians believe that Hitler only adopted the moustache in 1919, and his sister-in-law, who lived in Liverpool, well, she had one as well. Do you know what her name was?
Muriel.
Almost, as it were.
Gauss Adolf.
Bridget Hitler.
Bridget Hitler.
Yeah, that was her name. Bridget Hitler.
Bridget Hitler?
Yeah. Yes, she was married to Alois Jr., who was Hitler's half-brother. And they had a son, William Patrick Hitler.
Billy Hitler.
William Patrick Hitler went to America and won a Purple Heart in the Navy.
Changed his name, I presume.
Eventually to Stuart Houston, I think. And he claimed he wanted to forget anything to do with his uncle, but he named his first son Alexander Adolf Stuart Houston. Anyway, yes, Bridget, in her memoir, said that he came to visit Liverpool and that she told him that he should trim the ends of his moustache to make it less bushy. But, as she put it, as in most things, he went too far.
Who gave Hitler a kick in the backside?
Have you ever actually kicked someone up the arse?
I can't reach. No, have you?
I once kicked my brother up the arse, and it was so so pleasing.
Do you know what? You look so nice. There's a streak of violence a mile wide.
A kick up the arse is a very pure thing when it goes right.
Okay. Anyway, who gave Hitler a kick in the backside?
Goebbels.
Was it Hitler, Himmler, Hindler, Hivler, Hitler?
No, so... his personal physician was called Dr. Theodore Morell, and he gave him daily injections in his bottom throughout the course of his career. So it started with just, you know, your basic vitamin supplements, but over the years, a cocktail of drugs. In fact, he became unbelievably reliant on a very complex and potent cocktail. One of the substances he was given, it came in little gold-foiled packets, and it was called Vitamultin. And Hitler gave a packet to Himmler, and he secretly ordered one of the SS physicians, Ernst Gunther Schenk, to have it tested in the lab, and it contained methamphetamine. It was crystal meth. Dr. Morell kept a record of the drugs that he gave to Hitler. It included belladonna, caffeine, cocaine, adrenaline, morphine, testosterone, and E. coli bacteria extracted from human feces.
So they all have to have their hair just cut up a little bit higher than him, so they look a little bit more stupid.
Yeah, a little bit.
Very your hair is a little bit too low. I think you should go higher with your hair. Yes, you are.
I don't have a medical degree, but I have watched a lot of Casualty, but I am not qualified. But even I know that injecting bacteria from human faeces into someone is not a positive thing.
Well, apparently it kept Hitler fresh, alert, active, and immediately ready for the day, cheerful, talkative, physically active, and tending to stay awake for long hours into the night.
You know, you could do that with a simple Mars bar.
And then the Allied forces bombed the factories that produced Morell's drugs. So not only was Hitler losing the war, he was coming off drugs at the same time.
That was a Mosquito. It's a twin-engine fighter bomber made entirely of wood.
Is that right?
I think so.
You were so confident there.
I think it had a wooden frame or something. There's something unusual about it. I remember because we had an Airfix one in our house.
Well, maybe just the Airfix one was made of...
Do you know the Titanic was completely made of tin?
What did Mussolini do?
Made the trains run on time.
No, he didn't. You could argue he made one particular train run on time. In 1922, there was a general strike in Italy, much to the annoyance of many Italian people, and certainly to the annoyance of the king, Umberto. And the fascists, led by Mussolini, were gathered in Naples, and Mussolini made his ferocious speech saying, we shall march on Rome, and we shall sort this out, we shall seize power if we're not offered it, and we shall end this strike. And it became, and Roma, Roma, Roma was shouted, and the famous March on Rome began. Mussolini himself went to Milan, didn't go on the march because he was rather scared. He was quaking in his jackboots. But it turned out to be a great success. And the king offered him power and said he must get on the train from Milan, where he was, to Rome, and I will offer you the prime ministership. So he rang up the station master at Milan and said, this train has to run on time. And it was the one train he definitely made run on time. But all the other improvements in the Italian transport system were actually made before he came to power.
Garibaldi, that's a type of biscuit.
It's a type of biscuit.
It's a type of biscuit.
It cracks. It's the difference. You can't crack a cake.
Good. Well, that's all very exciting.
Why did Big Beard Wang regularly shave his pussy?
Well, I'm afraid I'm disappointed that we've got a cheap laugh from the word pussy.
I was thinking of Wang, actually.
I think it's a person, perhaps.
You're right.
Big Beard Wang, who one could assume he had a large beard.
And he shaved his cat.
Well, he was a barber. He was a barber to a very famous man.
Was he a Chinese barber?
He was a Chinese
An emperor, was there?
A kind of emperor, I suppose, though he would certainly not call himself one. But
Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao, indeed. And Mao is the Chinese for...
Cat.
Cat! Exactly. Meow. Meow, you would think, but no, it really is. Mao is cat.
Is that cat on the end of Chairman Mao's...
That's why he's smiling.
I don't remember that as one of those communist posters.
It means cat, Mao, and it also means hat, oddly enough. So, Mao Li Di Mao means the cat in the hat.
What did Mussolini want Italians to eat to make them big and strong? Oh. He had a national propaganda day for this food stuff, and he wanted Italians really to take to it in a big way.
Was it a vegetable, some sort of...
Not quite a vegetable.
Nuts.
Not nuts, no. It's something Italians do eat. They have a specialist dish.
Ravioli?
Risotto. Risotto, which is made from...
Rice.
Rice, exactly. And Mussolini wanted to kick Italians off the habit of eating pasta and to get them into the habit of eating rice. And Italians didn't take kindly for this at all. And so here are some paddy fields, some Italian ladies growing rice.
And singing while they do it.
And singing as they did it. And rather extraordinary, he had on his side the Futurists. You probably know about the Futurist movement, which was a bit like...
Not yet.
The Dadaists and the... Not yet.
Very good.
Almost too quick. That was brilliant. Yeah, but the Futurists were an art movement, and they were pretty witty. And Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, who was one of the great Futurists, he said that pasta made Italians lethargic, pessimistic and sentimental. And this caused outrage, as I'm sure was his intention. He opened his own restaurant, and he had some extraordinary dishes. I mean, way ahead. I mean, ahead of Heston Blumenthal or anybody like that. Here, this is my favourite one. It's called aero food, all right? Pieces of olive, fennel and kumquat are eaten with the right hand, while the left hand caresses various pieces of sandpaper, velvet and silk. All the while, the diner is blasted with a giant fan and sprayed with the scent of carnation to the music of Wagner. Isn't that a dish? I think somebody should have the guts and the wit to open a Futurist restaurant again. There are other ones. There was chicken fiat. A chicken is roasted with a handful of ball bearings inside. When the flesh has fully absorbed the flavour of the mild steel balls, chicken is served with a garnish of whipped cream. And there's one called the excited pig. A whole salami, skinned, is cooked in strong espresso coffee and flavoured with eau de cologne.
I think you've been to motorway services.
Did Napoleon say to Josephine on his way back from a journey?
Ah, I sense a trap. The only thing I know about Napoleon to Josephine was he said...
Yeah?
What was it, Rob? What was it?
Phil?
How?
I'm going to do it. I'm coming back, don't wash.
Oh! That is one of the two things that people know that Napoleon said. Yep, I shall be home soon, don't wash, because he liked them dirty. There is no evidence for that whatsoever. The earliest place this quotation can be sourced is 1981.
I only know the other one.
The other one, which might be... what?
It's the one... Rob, what's it?
Yeah, you know it.
Cal, what? It's really...
I'm still stuck on the no
Pas ce
washing.
soir, Josephine.
Oh.
And I got away with it.
Josephine, on the right there, she's got the same black eyes that all the people in my pictures have got on my computer when I try and get rid of the red eye.
Yes, that's true.
They end up with massive black dots and they look like some sort of zombie film.
Anyway, I'm sorry you fell into our trap, but you managed to avoid the trap of Not Tonight, Josephine, which is the other thing he was supposed to have said.
That's the one I know.
That appears in a play, W.G. Wells' play called The Royal Divorce, which didn't come out until 1891, some 70 years after the death of the Emperor.
An army marches on its stomach.
Yes, well, indeed, yes.
Did he say that?
Unlikely to have said that to Josephine, but he might have done. I think he made it more as a sort of, you know, a point about logistics.
Maybe he discussed all sorts of battle stuff.
He might have done. He said, I prefer a lucky general to a skilled one, he said as well. So we don't really know anything particular that Josephine and Napoleon might have said to each other. Which military leader does this mighty Norfolk oak commemorate? Yes, Joe.
Nigel Farage.
Well.
It's a very big oak.
No, it isn't mighty, is it? So it's not that old, in fact.
Yeah, it could be.
It's about 80 years old. Not quite 80.
Not quite 80.
It was a
Kitchener.
Sapling. It was a sapling 78 years ago.
So, it'd be too late for Kitchener.
Not Mosley.
You're in the right ballpark, but even more of a military leader.
Hitler.
Adolf, as you rightly say, hit, as you pointed out, le. Yes.
There's a commemorative oak tree in Norfolk.
The fact is, everybody who won a gold medal in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin was presented with a sapling of an oak tree.
Our oak trees.
Proud,
you mean they've got oak trees in Germany?
Yes, I'm afraid the German for oak is Eich, so Eichmann is Oakman.
Is it really?
Some of the oak trees are on the German side.
Yes, our word acorn and oak come from the Eich.
Proud English oak. Well,
Yeah, hearts of oak. I know. Anyway, the Hitler oaks, yeah. There are none left in Britain except the one in Norfolk, which is surviving, as you see.
You would assume that it's not going to really last that long. once people watch this.
Well, no, they might go and take it down. A lot of Americans didn't keep theirs for that reason. Jesse Owens actually did keep his. He won how many gold medals at the...
4.
4, quite right. And one of his Hitler oaths survives in his old training school in Cleveland, Ohio. Gave another to his mother. Some US athletes threw theirs away, as I say.
What a lovely present.
Well, it was handed out by the committee rather than Hitler himself, but they were, of course, associated so much with his
I gave my mum a pair of Saddam Hussein's pants for her.
Anyway, there you go. Congratulations to all those who did win.
What's the one thing we can all agree Hitler, Stalin and Franco got right and Mussolini got wrong?
Mussolini surrendered.
There's something the 3 mustachioed dictators loathed and detested, but that actually Mussolini rather liked.
Pasta.
Yes.
Something you want about Simon Sharma, he'd never come up with that.
Let's stick with the letter J.
Jackets with jeans, like Clarkson.
No.
Oh, was it double denim?
That again doesn't really begin with J.
J, does it?
J. Jizz.
The 20th century. Yes! You're close. The 20th century.
I'm close.
20th century. You've only got
century.
one vowel.
Jazz.
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 Jazz music. I disagree with this question, basically. Our very, very naughty people have suggested that Hitler, Stalin and Franco were right for disliking jazz. I personally love jazz.
So you're saying that Hitler didn't like jazz?
Not just didn't
the
like it.
The more I hear about this guy, the less I like it.
I know. I agree. But jazz was, to the Germans, was inimical, absolutely. They thought it was total evil. They thought it was completely against everything they stood for.
But people presumably did listen to it, though, in great numbers. There's a bit of... There's a bit of yow. You know, there's a bit of that of an evening, and then as soon as the SS come around, turn it off.
But Mussolini, oddly enough, for all his faults, and let's face it, there were many and grievous.
Well,
he listened to jazz in private. His son Romano was one of post-war Italy's most celebrated jazz musicians. He played with Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, and Chet Baker. You can't get much higher than that in the jazz world.
I know what they mean, though. Just Bill clicking his fingers there, I felt the urge to do very bad things.
But it is an odd thing.
You know,
I got the best seat this evening.
You got it. Is that how they would scare German machine gun outposts? They just creep up there.
Yeah. They're firing regularly, and you fire syncopated.
Yeah.
But it's quite important. I mean, I read One for the Road, and also spent a little bit of time in South Africa, and in both those places, jazz clubs are very important culturally.
Absolutely. Oh, in South America, South Africa, huge.
Underground, illegal, likely to be shut down with disastrous consequences for all who take part, but really quite important. So hard to imagine it being that.
But it was a symbol of, like rock and roll, as rock and roll became, it became a symbol of defiance. And in Paris, it was hugely important, wasn't it?
Wasn't that Hitler's thing with comedy as well? Well, he didn't like Jewish comedy because he felt like if you laughed with someone, and presumably the same thing with music, if you enjoy their music, you couldn't hate them.
What you're experiencing there is cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance is exactly right.
I think you'll find your way.
Take the audience and the ladies and gentlemen at home through cognitive dissonance.
Never mind them. Take me through cognitive dissonance.
It's exactly what you described. It's the ability to hold two opposing opinions at the same time. They seem to contradict each other, but actually, yet humans can do that.
Yeah.
Here's cognitive dissonance. Here I am on QI, like you see on the television, sitting by there. It's quite nice. Everyone seems nice. I'm having a nice time.
Yeah.
And yet, we've had the question, what did Hitler get right? Which is exactly what my grandmother told me would happen if I went on television.
Defining characteristic of Nazi toothpaste.
Whitening, frightening, depending where you put it, very tightening. I mean, come on, you must have got your hemorrhoid cream mixed up with your Savalon.
No. No, I've never had hemorrhoid cream. That must be awful. In America, they have hemorrhoid aisles in the chemists. I was in a chemist in New York, and there was a whole aisle dedicated entirely to hemorrhoid cream.
Really?
I know.
You've been in the pile aisle?
I've not discussed this on TV.
No, do it for us.
So I had suspected hemorrhoids.
Congratulations.
So I phoned up the doctor.
And he went, what?
And I was like, can I get an appointment? I think I've got hemorrhoids. They were like, oh, we've got to do over-the-phone consultation. The doctor will phone you back. And she phoned me back and she was like, could you describe your symptoms? And I've never really had, like, an embarrassing illness down there before. So I described my symptoms downstairs. And I was quite embarrassed by it, because as you can see, I'm not stumbling here.
No. Don't worry, no one will know.
And then I got to the end and she went, are you the comedian, Josh Whittaker?
Oh, I had somebody ask me that while I was having a colonoscopy.
What, they asked you if you were Josh Whittaker?
Yes. Wanting to know if I was Josh Whittaker, and it turned out there'd been a misunderstanding with a phone call.
I'd like the idea they're in your colon. They go, that looks like Josh Whittaker.
I'd recognise that anyway.
Can I just say to everybody as a health warning, if you do not need a colonoscopy if all you've had is beetroot. I'm just going to put it out there. Right. The question was, what's the defining characteristic of Nazi toothpaste?
How did we get onto ourselves? It's your fault.
No, and I'm the only one who hasn't had them.
I haven't had them.
She just had beetroot.
I just had beetroot. So what happened in 1944, there was a German chemist in occupied Paris. He'd been tracking down stocks of uranium and thorium and sending it back to Germany. And there was enormous fear that the Nazis were about to develop their own nuclear weapons. And so a team of spies, who were collectively known as Alsos, were tasked with discovering what the Nazis' nuclear plans were. And they worked out eventually that all of this radioactive material was being stockpiled by a company in Germany hoping to gain a post-war monopoly on radioactive toothpaste. That was the plan. There was a very popular product called Doramad radioactive toothpaste. It was advertised as making your teeth shine with radioactive brilliance, which it absolutely would do, but they wouldn't stay in your mouth for very long.
Who did Napoleon's ex go out with next?
Are we talking about Josephine?
Well, yes, we are, but not the Empress Josephine. Oddly enough, he seemed to have a predilection for Josephines. Well, he had two mistresses. One was called Josefina, and one was called Josephine, neither of whom was the Empress Josephine. There they are. There was Josefina Grassini, who was a beautiful dancer, opera singer, opera dancer, they used to be called, and Josephine Weimar, an actress. So they were both very beautiful.
She looks like she's doing the single ladies dance, like she's... What?
She's showing how tall Napoleon is. That's what
I once was this high!
But these, as I say, were different Josephines. They were later ones. Just before the Battle of Waterloo, who was the British ambassador in Paris?
British ambassador...
I'll leave this one to you, Alan.
Before Napoleon escaped.
Before Napoleon escaped.
It's kind of easier than you think. He was the victor of Peninsula and he'd beaten Napoleon before, and he was about to beat him again. It was the Duke of Wellington. Duke of Wellington himself. There's old Hooky on the right, and there's Napoleon on the left, and... yeah, Wellington really knew how to rub it in when he beat someone, as it were.
Did he go out with...?
Yeah, he went out with both of these mistresses. He seduced both during his stay in Paris as ambassador in 1814 and 1815, just before Waterloo, before the escape of Napoleon. While Napoleon was in Elba, having abdicated, if you remember. Able was I ere I saw Elba. What's odd about that phrase?
It's a palindrome, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly, it's a palindrome.
It's actually a palindrome, guys, so...
And Weimar was the only one who compared the two in bed, which is extremely unkind of her. She said, Monsieur le Duc était beaucoup plus fort, was a lot stronger in bed. Fort is fiercer, stronger, mightier. Yeah, better, basically.
Was there a Mrs. Wellington sort of back home who was a bit fed up about
the Duchess? Yeah.
Yeah, she must have been, you know, unimpressed, I'd say.
Well, he famously did have a lot of affairs.
There were so many potatoes around in those days. No doubt that they were up to
That's right. And after the war's ended, he was presented with Napoleon's sword, 3 paintings of him, and a painting of his sister, Paolina Borghese. There she is, that's Napoleon's sister there, with a nipple showing.
Got something keeping her chin on as well.
Yes, keeping her mouth from falling open.
I think it's a mask. It's clearly some sort of a face mask, like it's got a bit of elastic around the back.
Well, Napoleon had commissioned a statue of himself, 11 foot tall, basically twice the height of himself. And this was bought by the British government and given to Wellington along with the house they gave him. Do you remember what it's called? It's got a wonderfully famous...
Number 1 London.
Number 1 London.
Oh,
Apsley
wow.
House. And it really works. If you get into a cab and say Number 1 London, the cabby will go, oh, I've always wanted someone to say that. And they will take you there.
Is that supposed to be the sculpture of Napoleon?
That is it in the, I know, somewhat idealised to say the least, in the stairwell of Apsley House, as it's also called.
Where is Number 1 London, then?
It's a Hyde Park corner.
It's easier to spot in real life because there isn't a bloody great big picture in it.
Duke Wellington, Beef Wellington man.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's named after him. Yep, and the boots.
And the boots as
A
well.
lot of military figure had articles of clothing named after them, particularly for some reason the Crimean War. There was Lord Cardigan, who was in charge of the Light Brigade.
Balaclava.
The balaclava helmet, absolutely, and the...
Jodhpur.
Jodhpur's a place, I think, but Raglan was also part
Dr.
of...
Martin.
Raglan. The Raglan sleeve.
Lord Bobble Hat.
Lord...
Colonel Stiletto.
Colonel Sandwich.
Colonel Scarf.
Oh, jockstrap.
Point was Chairman Mao trying to make by giving Stalin 12 tons of radishes.
That you should never trust substitutions at Ocado.
Mine's not an Ocado. I got, you know, they do, until I tick the box saying please don't replace things in
Yeah.
home delivery. I ordered vegetarian sausages, and genuinely they said, we didn't have any vegetarian sausages, so we've given you frozen octopus.
That's very disappointing. So why...
A lot of radishes, 12 tons.
So Chairman Mao visited the Kremlin for the birthday of Joseph Stalin, and to celebrate, I don't know, Chinese agriculture and cement friendship and so on between the two nations, Mao gifted 12 tons each of cabbages, radishes and onions.
That's a lot.
But then, you couldn't do this now, Mao was absolutely furious. He was put in a country house just outside Moscow with nothing to do except, as he put it, eat, sleep and shit for 10 days. And actually his analysis of what he was doing, which was to eat, sleep and shit, was the reason that he was there. The head of the secret police had been ordered to assess the Chinese leader's temperament by analysing his stools. They were stealing... They were stealing his poo. Yeah. So there were special toilets with boxes in, and they were coming and taking the stuff away.
They stole his
They still do stuff like that. Like, that's why Macron wouldn't do a COVID test when he went to see Putin, because he thought they'd use the COVID test...
To steal his DNA.
To steal his DNA.
Yeah.
And do what with it? Make another Macron?
Yeah. Have you seen Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
They're going to do Macron Island.
Tell you what, Josh, I'd go.
Do you...
Yeah. Look at little old Emmanuel, yes, please.
Anyway, so they tested all the stuff, and it must have worked out, because the two countries went on to sign the Sino-Soviet Treaty of Friendship, Alliance and Mutual Assistance. But it's a big thing. And so, for example, Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader, he takes his own toilet everywhere with him. That's not him burying it. Okay? That's really clear. And his father, on a government website, it once stated that his father, Kim Jong-il, never needed to urinate or defecate.
What?
Yeah,
That's not true.
He does sound Kim Jong-il, am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
Bit of fun, isn't it?
What? If you go over...
That sounds like an old vaudeville comic. Just a bit of fun. Just a bit.
If you're a world leader and you're going over somewhere, you don't want your DNA to be...
They go back onto Air Force One. They genuinely do. They go back to go to the toilet onto Air Force One.
Yeah. Right, but that's just America. Like, does everybody just go back onto their plane? And
there's genuine fear of having your poo analysed.
What you should do is, like, get, like, some elephant urine and then go to the toilet, pour it down,
that'd be
and
amazing.
come out and they'd be like, what the hell is going on here?
Germans spoil your Spanish holiday.
By showing up. They always want to hog the places.
Has some research been done and it turns out it was us?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's part
thought
of the
it might
truth. It's to do with Mr. Hitler. It's to do with Mr. Hitler and why the Germans spoil your Spanish holiday. So he is responsible for the fact that you have to change your watch every time you travel between Britain and Spain. What happened was, in 1942, General Franco, he switched Spain from Greenwich Mean Time to Central European Time to match Berlin's clocks in solidarity with Hitler and bumped the whole country forward an hour. And the result is that Spain is not in its natural time zone.
Not the worst thing that Hitler's done.
No, darling, no. That's fair. So the one that would maximise the amount of sunlight during the day is not the zone that Spain is in. There are many parts of Spain that are west of Greenwich, and yet it's an hour ahead. And so during the summer on the west coast of Spain, the sun is directly overhead at 20 to 3 in the afternoon, which makes no sense at all.
Would he mind if we put it back?
Well, I don't know why they don't. It just would make sense, wouldn't it?
Call me.
Call you now. Put Lou in charge. Now, the idea that Sintu first came up with, the idea that the Germans might hog the sun loungers by getting up early and placing the towels upon them, is not true. It is something that has been lodged in the British psyche since 1993, and it's due to a Carling Black Label ad. They ran an ad where a British person threw a towel from his room to a lounger, and it skimmed across the pool like a bouncing bomb to the theme of the Dam Busters. So the Germans are very upset that this continues to be a thing. So in 2014, they did an investigation, billed a newspaper into it, and they claimed, according to their observations in Spanish resorts, the British are by far the largest culprits for doing this. Though when they interviewed one British holidaymaker, they insisted it's the French.
Why are so many great men short?
Are they really?
David, you've hit the nail on the head. Rem acu tetigisti, as they would say in Latin.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
It means nice one, son.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. In fact, Napoleon
was short, wasn't he?
No, he was above average height.
Everyone was short in those days.
Wasn't he?
Well,
he was 5'6", which was taller than
he was
now.
5'7", actually. Average height was about 5'6"-ish.
So it's just the British who decided he was short, put him down a bit.
Yes, it was particularly a cartoonist called Gilray. When we were at war with Napoleon, there was a famous one of George III with a little Napoleon based on Gulliver's Travels, like that. And he's actually saying, I cannot but conclude you to be one of the most pernicious little odious reptiles that nature ever suffered to crawl upon the surface of the earth. There.
It's a snappy.
It's a snappy one. He was 3 inches taller than Nelson, for example. Nelson was 3 inches shorter than Napoleon. It's certainly true that...
Nelson was 5'4"?
Yeah.
Like Danny DeVito.
He was very, short chap.
No wonder they put him on such a big
so
column.
Is that kind of...
Yes, he's tall in Trafalgar Square.
Is that short man syndrome a kind of retrospective thing, then, that we've kind of invented more recently and then just gone back and said they're all short?
Yeah. Some of them were short, though. There's no question. I mean, Stalin was surprisingly short. He was only 5'5". Mussolini was 5'6". Franco was 5'4".
5'4"?
Yeah.
They are all short, Steve.
Well, no. He hit the 5'8". Idi Amin was 6'4".
Yeah, big
That's
fella.
my height. Fidel Castro, 6'1". Mao was 5'9", which is rather tall for a Chinese person. So...
But mostly they're not judged on their height, are they?
No. They're not. They're not. But all I'm...
We'll let that go.
Yeah. All I'm saying, there seems to be historically no evidence that short people are more power-hungry, more tyrannical than people of average or tall stature.
Because you know how it came about, though, because it's just that one... It's probably the one thing that short people have got to cling on to. One day they might be a dictator. Well, and we've just taken that away from them.
All this
little hope.
All this not being able to reach things from shelves, one day will be made up for when I kill millions of people. And I can stand on their bodies.
Yeah.
Reach the jam.
Yeah. Everybody knows somebody short in their life who's been particularly angry and abused his position of authority. And then you decide he's a bit like Hitler.
That's the point. You notice when a short man has a tantrum and says, oh, short man, Napoleon complex.
Tall man has a tantrum, you just leg it.
Exactly. I have to say, I'm rather shocked by this. Heightism does exist. Short people are paid less on average than tall people. The disparity is comparable in magnitude to race and gender. A survey of Fortune 500 companies...
They should rise up.
Yeah. Hey. The chief executive officers of Fortune 500 companies, 90% are above average height, which is astounding, really. And 30% of those are over 6'2". You know, the tallest 4%.
Every now and again, a little short fella breaks through.
Yeah. Oh, stop.
Escapes, gets away.
Yeah, yeah. But it is...
Me!
It is rather shocking that there is this disparity. And, of course, we always notice the powerful, short, rich man with a young, tall wife is...
Billionaire Bernie
She's actually... I've seen her with him. She's actually much taller than that. Above him.
Yeah, she's bending her knee there.
Yeah. I mean, he has to jump up to slap her on the bum. He can run through her legs.
And who's the couple on the left?
That's Carla Bruni and
Sarkozy. But at least the women have both got handbags that their husbands can fit in, which is...
No, there isn't really any evidence that dictators are shorter than the rest of us. The Napoleon complex is a bit of a myth, it seems.